All right, let's jump right in. If you're prepping for the Series 65 exam, you already know the stakes are super high. The test writers? Yeah, they are actively trying to trip you up, and one of their absolute favorite places to set those traps is with financial ratios. They really want to see if you actually understand a company's financial health or if you're just, regurgitating memorized textbook definitions. So today, we're breaking down three absolute must-know ratios: the current ratio, the quick ratio, and the debt-to-equity ratio.
Real quick, before we start crunching the numbers, I want to mention that this explainer is brought to you by Cert Fuel. If you're serious about passing, their Series 65 course is fantastic. It has adaptive study quizzes that actually figure out your weak spots, smart flashcards, and unlimited practice exams that are weighted exactly like the real test. Honestly, it's a game changer. Check them out over at certfuel.com.
Okay, let's get back to it. Question for you. Can you spot the exact difference between liquidity and leverage? Because I guarantee the Series 65 test riders are banking on the fact that you can't. To help us nail this down, let's bring in our cast of characters. We've got Avery the advisor who's trying to build a rock-solid portfolio, we have Ivy the investor looking for a safe place to put her capital, and we have our ambitious business owner, Clara the client.
So meet Clara. Clara runs Clara's Artisanal Widget Boutique, and she is heavy on inventory and heavy on ambition. Her warehouse is literally overflowing with these hand-carved, organic, gluten-free widgets. And hey, on paper, she looks incredibly successful. But Avery, the advisor, needs to ask the first, most critical question before Ivy, the investor, risks a single dollar. Can Clara actually pay her short-term bills?
To figure that out, Avery needs to test Clara's liquidity. And that brings us to our very first formula, the current ratio. This is the ultimate measure of a company's ability to meet its short-term obligations. Think of it like checking a business's financial heartbeat. You just take current assets, so that's cash, accounts receivable, and importantly, inventory, and you divide that by current liabilities, which are immediate bills like accounts payable. Let's walk through the exact math for Clara's boutique. Step 1, Avery pulls up Clara's balance sheet and sees her current assets total $500,000. Step 2, her current liabilities, the bills she has to pay like right now, total $200,000. Step 3, we just divide the assets by the liabilities. 500 grand divided by 200 grand. And boom, that gives us 2.5. Now the absolutely crucial part here is what this number actually means for us. A current ratio of 2.5 means Clara can cover her short-term obligations 2.5 times over. When we're talking about the current ratio, a higher number equals more liquidity, which means a way better ability to meet short-term debts. Honestly, if this number had been below 1.0, Avery would be pulling the fire alarm and getting Ivy out of the deal immediately, because Clara's liabilities would be greater than her assets.
But wait, let's hit pause for a second. What if Clara's warehouse is completely jammed full of unsold widgets? Avery the advisor is smart. He knows that counting all that inventory as an asset looks great on a spreadsheet. But what happens if the creditors come knocking tomorrow morning? You can't just hand the bank a hand-carved organic widget to pay the electric bill, right? Inventory's definitely not always quickly converted to cash.
And that little realization perfectly sets up our second ratio, the quick ratio. You'll also hear this called the acid test. While the current ratio generously includes inventory, the quick ratio aggressively kicks it out. It strictly wants to know what cash can be generated incredibly fast without having to rely on selling a single widget.
So let's run Clara's numbers again, but this time we are putting her through the acid test. Step 1. We take her total current assets of $500,000, but we subtract that giant mountain of unsold widgets, which is valued at $150,000. That leaves us with $350,000 in highly liquid assets. Step 2. Her liabilities remain the same at $200,000. Step 3. We divide.
And we get 1.75. Okay, so Clara can still cover her short-term debts 1.75 times over, using only her most liquid assets. Ivy the investor can definitely breathe a sigh of relief here. Now, notice how this 1.75 is lower than our current ratio of 2.5? Mathematically, the quick ratio is always going to be equal to or less than the current ratio. It has to be, because we're actively making the top number smaller by stripping out the inventory. All right, listen up, because this is a massive exam trap. When you are sitting in that testing center, you are very likely to see a question asking which ratio is the more conservative or more stringent measure of liquidity. Do not overthink it. The answer is absolutely always the quick ratio, because it rips out the inventory. It gives you the most conservative, worst-case scenario view of whether a company can survive a sudden cash crunch.
Okay, So we've established Clara has great liquidity. She can comfortably pay her bills, but what if Clara decides she wants to expand her artisanal boutique nationwide? Where's all that money coming from? This brings us to a completely different type of financial health check. Is she drowning in debt to fund this massive ambition? We are officially moving from liquidity, which is short-term survival, to leverage, which looks at long-term capital structure. To figure out exactly how Clara is financing all this growth, Avery is going to use the debt-to-equity ratio, or DE for short. The formula here is total liabilities divided by shareholders' equity. This ratio measures the exact proportion of a company's financing that comes from borrowed money, the debt, versus the money provided by the actual owners, which is the equity.
Let's crunch Clara's leverage numbers. Step 1, Avery totals up every single one of Clara's liabilities. We're talking long-term loans, everything. It comes out to $400,000. Step 2, he calculates her shareholders' equity, and that is $200,000. Step 3, we simply divide the debt by the equity, $400,000 over $200,000.
And that gives us a debt-to-equity ratio of 2.0. So, what's the big takeaway here for Ivy the investor? Well, a ratio of 1.0 would mean debt and equity are exactly balanced. But Clara's ratio is 2.0. That means for every single dollar of equity Clara actually has in the business, she is carrying $2 of debt. She is relying heavily on borrowed funds.
Which brings us to a foundational rule you must remember for the exam. You have to clearly distinguish how you interpret these two different types of ratios. With liquidity ratios, like your current and quick ratios, higher is generally better. It means you've got more cash to handle problems. But with leverage ratios, like debt to equity, a higher number means more reliance on debt, which equals a whole lot more risk. Higher is not better here, higher is actually dangerous. And that leads us to a fascinating trapdoor scenario. Imagine Avery the advisor is screening a stock for Ivy. He sees this company has an incredibly high current ratio, like off the charts. So, is it automatically a safe investment? Take a second to really think about what we just covered.
Here is the ultimate exam trap. The test writers will absolutely try to trick you by presenting a company that has sky-high liquidity, maybe a current ratio of 4.0, but at the exact same time it has a terrifyingly high debt-to-equity ratio. If you only check liquidity, you might think, oh, this is incredibly safe. But if you ignore leverage, you totally miss the massive financial risk hiding in their long-term debt. You've got to understand that one measures short-term safety and the other measures long-term structural risk. You need both puzzle pieces.
Okay, we're in the home stretch now. This is our rapid-fire ratio recap. If you've been taking notes, this is the ultimate mental screenshot you need for test day. It puts everything into one perfect grid: the name, the formula, the core purpose, and exactly how to interpret that final number.
Let's hammer these home one last time. Current ratio. This is your broad, short-term liquidity check. Quick ratio. This is your strict, ultra-conservative liquidity check that kicks inventory completely out of the club. And finally, debt to equity. This is your financial leverage check, showing you exactly how much risk the company is taking on with borrowed money. Before we wrap up, I've got one final piece of quick-fire trivia to see how deeply you really understand the math behind these formulas. What happens to the liquidity ratios if a company's inventory is exactly zero? Like, say they run a pure service business with absolutely no physical products. What happens then?
The answer is that the current ratio and the quick ratio become mathematically identical, because think about it, the only difference between the two is subtracting inventory in the top half of the fraction. If inventory is zero, there's literally nothing to subtract, and the formulas give you the exact same result. It's a brilliant little conceptual trick to keep in your back pocket.
So, as we finish up here, I'll leave you with this final thought. Can you protect Ivy the investor from bad ratios on test day? By understanding the distinct roles of liquidity and leverage and remembering exactly when a higher number is safe versus when it's dangerous, you won't just be memorizing definitions, you'll be actively analyzing financial health just like a real advisor. Take these concepts into your practice exams, dodge those traps, and you are going to absolutely crush the Series 65.